That's all right. Thank you.
Sir. How did I make it all this time? How did I make it this far? Through the valleys and over the hills. I know it had to be God. How did I make it through the storm? How did I make it through the rain? If you want to know just how I got here, it's so easy to explain. It was God's grace.
our help comes from the Lord. Then I made it this far by the grace of God. Grace, God's unmerited favor. Huh? Wasn't fitting to live. Wasn't fitting to die. But was God's grace. Huh? Y'all know anything about God's grace? Huh? If you don't know what God's grace is, God's grace is 2 bulldogs. Huh? Following behind me. One called grace and the other called favor. Huh? Everywhere I go, I can turn around and know that I got God's grace. Huh? Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. At this time, y'all, it's something strange took place up in Zion Hill today. And that spirit sat down in the midst. Huh? And it wasn't like a 747. It was like a helicopter. It just hovered. Huh? It's just been hovering around us. And Pastor Bowie stick a pin in me. I'm going to take off like a hot air balloon. Come on, Brother Roy, and give us our history.